to get my back blown out in peace. You think I got time to talk about a divorce that's a year old?
The courtroom fell silent as the judge's gavel struck sharply against the bench. Cameras flashed, capturing every 10th second. "Your daughter deserves better than this," the judge declared, his voice echoing across the room. The words hit like a bombshell, leaving everyone, parents, lawyers, media, and fans, stunned. Tensions ran high as the drama about to unfold promised to shake not just the courtroom, but the lives of everyone involved. The sun blazed outside the courthouse as both parents arrived separately, flanked by their legal teams. Aaron's face was set in a hard, defensive expression, his sunglasses barely hiding the stress under his eyes. Tiana walked in with a composed but tense demeanor, her hands gripping her purse tightly. Reporters shouted questions, flashes of cameras lit the faces of everyone present, and whispers spread through the crowd. Fans and onlookers crowded the entrance, eager for the first glimpse of the high-profile couple. You could almost feel the tension in the air as the two former lovers passed each other without a word, the history between them heavy and palpable. Security tried to maintain order, but the energy in the courthouse corridor was electric, charged with anticipation and drama. Every step they took toward the courtroom seemed like a battle of silent words, and every glance sent ripples through the waiting media. Inside the courtroom, the lawyers took center stage. Aaron's attorney began first, presenting grievances about past disagreements, alleged negligence, and disputes over parenting decisions. Tiana's lawyer countered with her own claims of disrespect, emotional strain, and accusations of misconduct. The courtroom gasped as details of heated arguments, late-night text confrontations, and past betrayals came to light. Each revelation seemed to fuel the tension, the air thick with judgment and anticipation. The parents sat stiffly in their seats, occasionally exchanging tense looks or shaking their heads in disbelief. Every word spoken by the lawyers added weight to the drama, leaving the audience, both in the room and on social media, clutching onto every detail. The public was glued to the live stream, reacting in real time, debating who was in the wrong, and predicting what might happen next. Finally, the judge leaned forward, his gaze sweeping across both parents. The silence was deafening. "I have seen enough," he began, his voice sharp yet controlled. "Your constant fighting, your disregard for responsibility, and your inability to put your daughter first has led us here. She does not deserve to witness this chaos, to be caught in the middle of your battles. Your daughter deserves better than this." The courtroom erupted with murmurs, some shocked, others nodding in agreement. The judge's words struck deeply, exposing the raw truth. The ongoing conflicts between Aaron and Tiana were no longer just a private issue. They were a matter of public concern and legal scrutiny. The parents' faces reflected a mix of guilt, anger, and humiliation, their internal reactions laid bare for everyone to see. The judge's statement was not just a reprimand, it was a mirror showing the consequences of their actions on their child. Close-up shots captured every flicker of emotion, preserving the raw tension of the courtroom. Aaron's jaw tightened visibly as the judge's words cut through the air, each syllable weighing heavily on him. His eyes flickered rapidly, torn between defensiveness and shame, as though he wanted to argue yet also knew the futility of resistance. He leaned back in his chair, an attempt at composure, but the gesture betrayed the strain coursing through him. His breathing was uneven, shallow in rhythm, and the subtle twitch of his fingers against his lap spoke volumes of his inner conflict. The confident exterior he was known for seemed to fracture in front of everyone, exposing the fragile humanity behind his public image. Across the table, Tiana's body language revealed her own storm. Her hand trembled slightly as it clung to the edge of the seat, gripping it with such force that her knuckles turned pale. Her lips pressed together tightly, forming a brittle line that seemed to restrain a flood of emotions. Her eyes glistened with tears that refused to fall, a silent testament to her effort to remain composed. To the casual observer, she might have appeared calm, but those who studied her closely could see the subtle cracks in her facade. It was as if she were holding together a fragile glass structure that could shatter with the slightest pressure. Their attorneys exchanged hurried whispers, shuffling papers, and leaning in with urgent advice. They reminded their clients of strategies, legal points, and the importance of restraint, but even they could not mask the fact that emotion had now become the dominant force in the room. Every sideways glance between lawyer and client, Every scribbled note slid across the table, carried undertones of panic and desperation. It was a high-stakes performance where the scripts were abandoned, and instinct, pride, and raw emotion took center stage. The public, seated and watching intently, absorbed every detail with fascination. These were not distant celebrities seen only through carefully curated images and interviews. In this courtroom, stripped of glamour, they were human, vulnerable, unsettled, and painfully exposed. The aura of invincibility that had always surrounded Aaron and Tiana seemed to dissipate, replaced by a sobering reminder that fame and power offered no shield against judgment, responsibility, or heartbreak. Every gesture, the tightening of Aaron's jaw, the trembling of Tiana's hands, was a revelation of how fragile even the strongest can appear when the stakes are family and the audience is the world. Yet the most striking presence in the room was not the adults under scrutiny, nor the attorneys fighting to control the narrative, but the quiet figure of their daughter. Sitting silently in the gallery, she became the living embodiment of the consequences of her parents' turmoil. Her eyes moved constantly between them, reflecting a storm of emotions she struggled to process. Confusion, sadness, longing, and even fear passed across her face as she absorbed not just the words spoken, but the energy, the sharp tones, and the silences that seemed to stretch forever. The judge's reprimand seemed to land especially heavily on her young shoulders. She was old enough to understand the weight of the words, yet still too young to fully grasp why her parents had allowed things to escalate to this point. For her, this was not just about custody, legal battles, or adult pride. It was about the fragile hope of family, the longing for stability, and the painful recognition that the people she loved most were in conflict. The emotional impact was profound, leaving her torn between loyalty and disappointment. The courtroom adjusted almost instinctively to her presence. Lawyers softened their tones, the judge's cadence slowed, and even the gallery seemed to hold its collective breath. The awareness that a child was witnessing the dissection of her family dynamics brought an unspoken sensitivity to the proceedings. It was as if everyone realized, in that moment, that the law was only one dimension of the story. The deeper issue was the shaping of a young girl's future and the invisible scars such moments could leave behind. For her, the judge's words carried not just the authority of the law but also the clarity of truth. She had seen the arguments, felt the distance, and lived with the quiet tension long before the courtroom lights exposed it to the world. The reprimand, though directed at her parents, resonated deeply with her, echoing the emotions she had silently carried. It was as though someone had finally articulated the feelings she had been unable to express. The impact of that realization could ripple across her future. Perhaps it would bring a clearer understanding of boundaries, a recognition of the difference between love and conflict, or even a newfound strength born from the pain of witnessing imperfection so starkly. Whatever the outcome, this day, this courtroom scene, had etched itself permanently into her memory. The air in the courtroom remained thick with tension long after the judge's words had settled. Aaron and Tiana sat in their respective corners of silence, their expressions revealing the weight of what had just transpired. The attorneys shuffled their files, avoiding eye contact, as though the gravity of the moment had silenced even their usual confidence. The gallery sat hushed, aware that they had witnessed more than just a legal proceeding. This was not a mere custody dispute or a celebrity trial. It was a raw, vulnerable unveiling of humanity under the harshest of lights. And at the center of it all, the daughter's silent gaze lingered, holding both her parents accountable in ways the court could never fully enforce. It was a gaze that carried both pain and resilience, shaping not only how she would view them but also how she would carry forward the lessons of this day. What began as a battle of arguments had transformed into something far deeper, a defining moment of truth, family, and the undeniable cost of conflict under public scrutiny. Outside the courthouse, reporters scrambled to capture every angle. Social media exploded with opinions, debates, and speculations. Memes and commentary flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, with fans picking sides, expressing anger, or showing sympathy. Hashtags like #JudgeSlamsParents, #DaughterDeservesBetter, and #Courtroom Drama trended within minutes. Every detail, from the parents' arrival to the judge's stern words, became fodder for discussion. Experts were called in for live interviews, dissecting the legal implications, parenting responsibilities, and the long-term impact on the daughter. The public's reaction amplified the intensity of the story, turning a private courtroom battle into a nationwide spectacle, where every word and gesture was analyzed and debated relentlessly. Legal analysts speculated on the fallout. Could custody arrangements change? Would the parents be forced into counseling? Might there be stricter monitoring of their interactions with the daughter? Every scenario was dissected, predicting possible court orders, parental accountability measures, and family therapy requirements. Experts highlighted how repeated conflicts and public disputes could harm the child's emotional well-being and influence the judge's decisions in future proceedings. The situation remained unresolved, a tense cliffhanger that left viewers and fans eagerly awaiting updates. The courtroom drama was far from over. The implications of this session could ripple through both parents' personal and professional lives, reshaping their public images and redefining their responsibilities toward their daughter. The drama isn't over yet, and fans are already weighing in. Who do you think will come out on top in this battle for parental responsibility? How will the daughter cope with the fallout? Comment your thoughts below and share this video to stay updated. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. More updates and shocking developments are coming soon, and you won't want to miss a single moment of this high-stakes courtroom showdown.